as the inter-universal war looms after the Tournament of Power. Previously, it was discovered that the sinister Universe 14 has launched a preemptive strike against many of the realms allied with our heroes. Most recently, they have found themselves face to face with Vegeta and the Saiyans of Universe 6. With the henchman known as Salaga beelining towards Bulma, will Cabba and Caulfila be able to get to her in time to save her? And as for the life-threatening injury inflicted upon Cheelia, which has sent Broly into a blind rage, will Fennel be able to get her the help she needs to set this battle back in their favor? Admiral Fennel heads to the nearest location for Cheelia to receive medical treatment, and arriving at the Tuffle laboratories. It appears Cabba's already made it since he and Caulfila split up with Kale. At first ignorant to what she must be doing here, all's made clear upon seeing the limp body of Cheelia. The Admiral shouts to everyone that they need to be careful while working on her. She's in extremely unstable condition at the moment. The compound's doctor must do something. When Bulma enters, slamming the door, she trembles to know what happened to her. Her courier reveals how one of these invading demons wanted to enrage Broly. Needless to say, he succeeded. A few minutes pass. Supplying Cheelia with oxygen and likely other advanced chemicals, Fennel utters that they didn't see it coming. This monster got what he wanted and now they're here. Bulma notes that she may be in critical condition, but she's still with them. They need to stay optimistic. Caulfila finds regret in not being there to stop this from happening. However, that wasn't their assignment. Mr. Vegeta instructed them to protect Mrs. Bulma. Speaking of which, the latter admits that she hasn't seen any trace of a demon around here. Didn't they say she was supposed to be assassinated or something? The Admiral knows that he left long before they did. It's kind of amazing he hasn't arrived yet. It's speculated that perhaps he decided to back out when he saw he was being chased. Though Cabba thinks that's unlikely. He tells her to just consider what this trio's been able to do through now. They have every reason to be confident in their abilities. The Saiyan who is seen training with Vegeta in Chapter 7 approaches Bulma to explain how he went through the entire building and isolated all the people who are deemed to be at risk. The facility is now almost empty, who in turn thanks the young man for fulfilling his duties. Although, she's gotta ask Parsa, the young man, if he by any chance felt any kind of evil presence. And whether fortunately or unfortunately, no, he has no idea where when something within his mind steals his attention. What is? A voice whispers to him, Parsa, so that's your name. Salaga. The demon hisses that this Saiyan in particular may not be remembered, but he will at least be recognized as his first victim here. As the Saiyan's muscles and veins begin to stiffen and swell, he taunts, what's wrong? Can't he move? Acknowledging the two of them meeting like this is quite rude. He is only the executioner. The venerable heir has ordered him to take care of this Bulma woman. Parsa is merely an obstacle. The concern being that once he has killed him, it will alert the others of his presence. Either way, he had to act sooner or later, so believe him when he says that he'll be indebted to him the day they meet in the afterlife. The other's just seen a hole appear in his chest. It looks like this scum has finally shown himself. Cabba hollers out that they must immediately move from here. He's after Bulma, not Cheelia. Fennel's in agreement with his reasoning. In what appears to be one of the isolated areas Parsa mentioned earlier, a man counts his way to 75. Continuing his counting, he reminds that if anyone feels they have the slightest problem, they mustn't hesitate to say something. In this room, Bulma's friend Rapini, who we met back in Chapter 8. To whoever she's talking to, she states that their father seems really committed. She sincerely hopes that Bulma is doing well. She isn't here with everyone else. She's worried. Next to her, her son Peppino, who we were told about in the same chapter. meaning this man is Rapini's husband. Which gives me hope. Getting up and taking off, the Saiyan Tuffle hybrid springs into action, leaving his mother panicked to ask what he's doing. Cabba and Caulfila regroup, the latter questioning if she saw anything, and Wallace did not. Hearing a scream. It's Fennel! He's now got a hold of her! The pair sprint over trying to do something. They have to find a way to stop him! He lets out a giggle inside her head, happy to know she can see him, congratulating her on being his second victim. Looking down at her, he now understands what's going on. Punching her in the face, seeming to have done the trick to snap her out of his hold. He decides to reveal himself with his plan thwarted. He smirks to know how they knew to do that. Powering back up to Super Saiyan, she spouts that she knows enchanters like him. The worst that can happen is they hypnotize their opponent and render them unable to move. Therefore, she warned her comrades that they must be careful to always stay together, and to react this way if one of them is caught. She turns to Caulfila to show respect. She knew just how to take advantage of Admiral Aruba's teachings. She had to act quickly, thinking about how to parry the spells of this level. Who smiles, that's true. That big fatty taught her a lot of things. She simply acted in the best way possible at the time, thinking a strong shot could break that spell. While that may sound pretty reckless now that she says it aloud, it worked nonetheless. Salaga cackles that such powerful magic is bound to have its downfalls. The Saiyans have done well, but here he is, exactly where he wanted to be. Landing a shot right between the eyes. Cabba screams for him not to touch her, and actually smoking out the other side. The beam simply went through him. It didn't do anything? Cabba pierced his skull. The fiend chortles to his new friends that he has more than one trick up his sleeve. With his newest revelation, it looks like it's just he and Bulma now. When someone else arrives, it's... of course, Peppino. Bulma scolds, what's he doing here? This is dangerous. With a determined stare, he presses her not to worry. He'll get her out of here. But failing hard, that makes 2 deaths. Obviously too much for Cabba and Caulfila. The villain is done playing.
Resurrection in progress.
Peppino pretty much just comes back from the dead. Salaga growls that this is impossible. And yet, truth be told, even Peppino didn't expect this. He just had a near-death experience and he feels stronger than ever. What a strange sensation. Needless to say, this is his Saiyan genetics at work with the Zenkai. Thinking he's got his newest foe all figured out, so he's into magic too. But he's looking at the greatest magician in Universe 14. He'll soon regret getting up. But magic? He doesn't believe in that nonsense. He's in the land of the highest technology of Universe 6. He's gonna prove that his little tricks won't work against him. Apparently our real-life universe existing within Universe 14, the villain states that the man with no imagination has no wings. Which is a quote by the legendary boxer Muhammad Ali. His foe only scoffs at this. then shouts at the three Saiyans to get Bulma and get out of here. He'll take care of this guy. The demon's power on display. The younger at least sees that he clearly doesn't pull any punches. Appearing from above, he bellows to try to stop this with his stupid technology. After the vibrations of the explosion makes its way to the others, Bulma swings her head backwards, inquiring if anybody else just heard that. The female Saiyan grits her teeth that this sucks. Do they really think that a Tuffa will be able to get the better of this guy? Back with whom? It looks like Peppino is able to summon a shield to guard himself from the blast. He points out that Salaga could have destroyed this entire area, but he held back. Is there a reason for that? The fiend snarls and entails that the Venerable Heir ordered him to take care of this Bulma person, not to kill just any life form in his path. The group of Saiyans back there were obstacles preventing him from attaining his goal. And now he too, as it seems. Since he's in a merciful mood, he'll give the boy one more chance if he wants him to take his head off his list. Getting the drop on him, the Tuffle here appears to have as many tricks as any magician. He has to question his vision of mysticism if a simple hologram was enough to fool him. Flying towards the ground, said magician shoots a wink and questions if he were to be taken in by a solid illusion, but his skepticism towards his competence take a hit. Vanishing and appearing just the same, the elder user of smoke and mirrors turns the tables. So since he seems indestructible, Peppino has no choice. Since he was a child, his strength didn't match the natural superpower of pure-blooded Saiyans. It was the intellectual side of the Tuffles that took over his DNA. Remembering back to the other kids making fun of him for this. Despite King Sadala's desire to bring them all together, miscegenation, or the reproduction between people of different ethnic backgrounds, wasn't always welcomed, especially by the more conservative Saiyans. Having said that, his parents often told him enough that these were just uncivilized people. You can't make a different world out of indifferent people. So he wanted to prove himself that he could be strong in his own way. He's worked for years to compensate for his natural gap in strength. And he's finally found an alternative. He'd like to introduce him to his masterpiece, his twirling force. Back in Universe 7 on planet Lestia. It's been several months now since Goten and Trunks began the second stage of their training. It was with a strong will and desire to become ever stronger that the sons of Goku and Vegeta have finally risen to the rank of God Ki. Relishing in their success, Whis congratulates them on their progress over the last few months. Their current power is nothing like they had when they left Earth. In addition, they came close to death in each of their 9 attempts. Had they tried one more time, they'd be dead for sure, no matter what kind of training they'd opted for beforehand. But dead? Really? He continues. That being said, their bodies have been through several Zenkai. The risk was well worth the reward. Knowing he was the first of the group to attain this form on his own, or more or less on his own, Trunks thinks about how his dad must have been through a lot to become this strong. Goten questions just how many times they thought they were gonna die here, while letting out a stretch and yawn. But in the end, they achieved this milestone faster than expected because of Whis. Trunks thanks him sincerely. He thinks that it's about time for them to join his dad and finish their training with the Saiyans of Universe 6. Goten agrees. He's been thinking the same thing for a while, but he'd love to make a quick detour back to Earth to see his mom. Also, Pan, Piccolo, and the others, whose buddy likes the way he thinks. Brawl must be wondering where they've all been, and would only do them some good. Then they can visit Dende and Mr. Popo. They miss their meals so much. Though first, it would be really convenient if Whis would cut their hair. It's getting kind of out of hand. Trunks spouts that he has an idea for their clothes. A super classy superhero costume. Stopping in his tracks, Whis utters to know if they're ready for their next test. Next test? Wasn't Super Saiyan God the third and final step? Revealing that door from way earlier in their training. Trunks questions why they're here, who furthers that it's been just over 6 months since the Grand Priest's announcement. They now possess God Ki and have developed the Super Saiyan God form. However, with their current strength, they won't last a day with the war coming. And really? Are the gods that threaten them really that powerful? The angel goes on to say that they weren't present at the last significant battles of their elders, neither against Samasu or the Tournament of Power, so their perception of reality is relatively erroneous. They have no idea how powerful their next enemies will be. The son of Vegeta beckons that all should be well. There's gonna be his father, Majin Buu, Gohan, Piccolo, Android 17, and all the others. Even that famous Jiren guy his father mentioned will be there. It's then revealed that it'll be quite the feat for even Lord Beerus to emerge alive. But if even Beerus is in danger of dying, what the heck are they doing here? Truth is, 6 months ago they were just average fighters for Universe 7. Now that they've tamed their God Ki, it's just the beginning of the real thing. He's brought them to this place because it's where he's been training himself since his existence began. It can be likened to what they call the hyperbolic time chamber, leading to the young Goten to wonder if they'll really be able to catch up to the others in only a year and a half because of this place. However, the angel forgoes his query for the moment. He details how this is a dimension accessible to only holders of God Ki. Since that has been achieved by them, he can now take them there at will. Only 2 people besides himself can stay there, so he opted for this to be their final preparation. 4 hours in this dimension equals 1 hour on Earth. This way, instead of a year and a half, the time before the war begins, they will have an extra 6 years which to train. The glow of the door begins to encompass their vision. Whis urges them to get ready. Although, he's saying they'll be here another 6 years? So when they get out, they'll be 22 and 23? It's reminded that they too have to play a part in the coming conflict. They have the fate of their family and friends in their hands. They must prove to him that he wasn't wrong to take them on as students. After recognizing their determined gaze as acceptance, they have just one instruction in their final test. For this door to open a second time, for them to leave this new realm, they will have to succeed where their progenitors never did. They must land a hit on him. They must surpass themselves and become the ones to save Goku and the multiverse. With that, they can begin their real training. As the aid of maybe even Super Saiyan God Gotenks would have been a great help to Planet Sadala. It appears the boys will be staying with Whis until just before the war is set to begin. Entering as boys and returning as young adults. With this new training and achieving Super Saiyan God in only 6 months, just how far can they hope to grow in 6 years?